Welcome to the Hype Attack Podcast,
where we weigh in on the latest in nerd and pop culture hype.
We are the
We're the excited conversation we all have with our friends
about the nerdy things we love
and geek about.
We are the Hype Attack. I am the hype.
Time to talk about Star Wars.
Dun, 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 dun.
You're fucking nerds.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Nice.
Welcome back to the Hype Attack Podcast. This is Rudy, along with Isaac, Doug, and Jermaine.
What's up, Rudy?
Howdy.
How's it going, everyone?
What's up?
Much more
Going
sober
great.
than last week.
Yes.
That's hardly saying much.
The slur is gone. Oh, man, editing that was a pressure cooker. All of you guys.
I bet.
Well, no, actually, Jermaine was the only good one on that one. Like, he got his ideas across. All of us were like,
And I had the weird mic echo.
yeah,
Oh,
you were
so-
double handicapped on that one. With
Yeah,
the,
the first
with the mic.
part. The first part was me like drunk, slurring, and then hearing my own echo, which slowed me down. So
Yeah, I heard that.
It was just a slow, like I'm talking. Oh God!
When I tested your
Echo.
mic, I was like, I got this. I'm more sober. And I started talking slow because it was echoing. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, he's fucked.
Anyway,
Anyway,
not
so
important.
today, emergency podcast. We're going to get into Ahsoka. Ahsoka dropped. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Star Wars in general.
Ahsoka dropped with style
Oh yeah,
multiple
Oh, yeah.
times in the show.
Instead of our usual "How do we nerd" segment this week, though, we are going to get into some comments that you guys have left.
Yay!
Yay! Comments
On Instagram?
I was on our Instagram. I was led to believe that there was a few more comments than I actually found when I was in there. I was like, really? That's it?
You want me to write some right now?
So
and
we're
send
gonna
it?
have to get out there with the bullwhip and start whipping up them comments.
Don't look at me. He's the one that went to the BDSM bowl.
But anyway,
Bondage ball.
Whatever. Tomato, potato in your butt.
I took the dive in there, and so our first comment from the account Superhero Junkie,
Hey.
and that was
What's up?
in
Yeah.
response to our Wolverine suit post. He says, "Oh, it's beautiful, and it's going to look even better with the helmet cowl."
I hope we get the helmet cowl.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And he also thinks we're going to lose our minds when he actually puts it on.
Oh,
Do you really think that he's going to wear it? Like, I think if they were going to put him in it, they would have put that whole thing in the teaser, in that little.
the
Oh,
only
no, I think they're holding out for that because the fact that Ryan Reynolds has been trying to get him in one of these movies for years, why would they not have him in the mask? That's all I'm saying.
I could see him starting off in it, or like the big fight with the villain at the end. Like, oh, I need a mask or something. I don't know.
I just want to see him pull it over his face and just go berserker barrage. That's all.
That whole two-handed,
That's all.
that whole
Yeah.
two-handed pull from the
Yeah,
cartoon.
just
where he
that.
just goes,
Just that.
Oh man.
And then
I
the
feel like
claws come out.
There's no reason not to.
But
Exactly.
the reason why I don't know if they'll do that is
Shut your filthy mouth.
he said it. Continue.
No, go ahead. Go
Hey,
ahead.
no,
Let's
finish
hear
that.
it. Let's hear it.
Is he had sleeves?
Yeah. I was gonna say the same thing. Like, I'm hoping at one point he's like, "Oh, these sleeves are in the way" or something. Like, I want him to tear off
He's
his
in
own
there.
sleeves and then pull the cowl on.
Don't stop at the sleeves there, Jackman.
puts a tape measure in his mouth, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, much better. This is fabulous." The reason I'm not necessarily sure he's going to put it on is because the studios, we're kind of trusting Ryan Reynolds here, but the studios have all the subtlety of a giant fucking melon. Like, if they see something that's going to generate hype, let's throw it all out there.
That's
Let's
true.
give them everything, so there's nothing left for the movie.
That's
We've
true.
been burned by that a couple times.
But I do feel
Looking at you, Warner Brothers.
I do feel like what they're showing right now is just that behind the scene footage of that particular fight
Yeah, I was gonna say
at the
they've
Fox studio.
only released like the one image officially, right?
Yeah, so
Everything
that's
else has
it.
been like some asshole with a zoom camera on a hill
Yeah,
somewhere.
so we
right?
don't know yet what's to come. So we shall see.
Well, even still,
I mean, we know what's gonna come.
CGI cow.
All of us.
to the
Bazinga.
Cutlass. But even still, I've been trying to avoid like set photos and stuff like that because I want to try to be surprised. And when I saw that they were like,
Good luck.
I know,
The internet exists.
but also just my like addiction problem. Like, oh, give it to me, give me all the screenshots. And or set photos, and I saw them like fighting. Was it the whatever? There's like the 20th Century Fox in the background. I was like, damn, fuck! I wish I would have seen
people
that.
haven't seen that on the Listen to Our Show, and you just ruined it for them too. It's like a
Fuck it.
virus.
If we've seen it, they're gonna fucking suffer.
I'm three.
Yeah.
I'm
The
3 for 3
description.
on spoilers. Fuck! I'm sorry, guys. I'll do
And
better.
that was one that like I think I saw the headline that was like, oh, like, you know, more behind the scenes stuff, blah blah blah. And like I saw people were excited about it, but I was like, I'm gonna try to avoid it. And then it, it just hit Instagram instantly. It was posted everywhere. I follow too much nerd stuff to like. That's why I was talking earlier before we started this, how like certain movies I just feel like I have to go see right away because it will get spoiled.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to the next comment.
But thank you, Superhero Junkie.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Speaking of, before we move away from X-Men,
Okay.
Hand Built Custom messaged me, speaking of X-Men, and he wanted us to do a full episode of like talking about what order to watch the X-Men movies in, but not in release, but like in chronological. I was like, oh, maybe it's pretty straight. And then I started to look into it, and I was like, oh,
Yeah, it's not.
it's not that straightforward.
I think you start with every movie made by Fox, Searchlight, or whatever the hell they called, and just completely discard those and wait for the new ones.
I still wish New Mutants got another shot.
I didn't watch that, and it keeps popping up in my like, hey, you might like this movie, and I'm like, I didn't really get a lot of buzz on that one.
No,
Let me just,
there wasn't.
It was. I saw it. It was a. meh.
Yeah, I just appreciate they were like, hey, we have a superhero thing and we can go horror. We can do horror. They didn't do it well, but it was still like, okay.
I thought you just said we have a superhero thing, we can go horror it. I was like, what? I mean,
that
now I
too.
need to see it.
What's
That
that
part.
Yeah, what's that rule again? No, the first act set the first act was a suspense horror movie, and then everything else after that, it just kind of like fell apart.
We can talk about X-Men in another episode.
Oh yeah, for sure. We can
More
do that.
comments.
So the order that I put together to watch X-Men, and correct me if I'm probably going to be wrong: X-Men Origin Wolverine, X-Men First Class, X-Men Apocalypse, X-Men Dark Phoenix, X-Men, X2, X-Men Last Stand, The Wolverine, Days of Future Past, Logan, and the New Mutants not related to the X-Men storyline. How do you feel about that?
That sounds right.
Logan would be last. New Mutants was before Logan.
You'd be correct. Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Right on.
Got him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thank you, Handbuilt Customs LLC, for messaging me about that. And there you go.
Yeah.
On the record.
So our next comment
Yep.
from Instagrammer Ray Nicole on the time travel episode, she says nobody wants to mention her favorite time traveler, Hermione, from the Harry Potter series.
God damn it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
That's an easily
shocked that
overlooked
that
one.
didn't get up.
Yeah.
They didn't get brought up. Didn't they even do like because she time traveled to another? I'm thinking about the movies.
Mm-hmm.
She time traveled to another movie or a previous movie, but what didn't they when they filmed that previous movie? They had her stick out, or no? It was all within the same movie.
It was
Same
all in the
movie.
same movie.
Okay,
Yeah.
but they did do that, like in the earlier shot that you could see them like popping like their hand around the corner or something like that in the background.
Oh.
It was something like that.
Oh,
Like
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah, because it's all the fuck. I forget the name of all the time travel stuff, but it's basically the same timeline. So there's no alternate reality, nothing like no
Yeah.
alternate timelines. It's the same timeline that they're messing with. So it's kind of like it's gonna happen anyways, almost, right? But I remember seeing somewhere about that where if you look closely enough, like it's in there. Yeah, her hand.
Yeah, like they're popping around or something like
good.
like that. I forget.
Harry Potter is one of those properties that we're all familiar with, almost in passing a little bit, but like it's not one in the upper echelons of our minds. Just in this particular group, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it deserves a little bit more of a look into, but we're gonna have to bring in some outside
I think
Oh, no, it
assistance
does.
for that one.
Dave's going through. My brother's going through and watching all of the movies right now.
I never watched one of the movies in the theaters. I watched everything when it was already said and done. So I was late
okay.
to the game.
I think we mentioned this in an earlier podcast that it was one of the things where I was like, oh, wizardry and kids, and I'm like, and I finally sat and read the books, and then watched the movie, and I was like, holy shit, this is kind of next level.
So this is where I jump in because I was of the age where they were coming out as I was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, like I was in the 6th grade when the first movie came out in 2001.
Oh, that's like perfect time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And yeah, it was like Thanksgiving time, and as the books came out, and I was catching up with those and watching the movies, and Yeah, that's my first exposure to like that heavy nerdum.
I waited in a midnight release line for one of the books. Dan, our friend, was in line to get it. And it was a long line. I think he was just frustrated. And he got it and he just like threw it on the ground. He was like, yes, and just threw it on the ground. And the collective just gasped of everyone at the Barnes and Noble or the Borders. I forget which where we were at.
Did you see the video of the guy? Like he managed to get his hands on the book and looked at the very end or whatever. And he's like, he's passing by everybody with a bullhorn going, Dumbledore dies. Oh, no. And if you didn't know about that, fuck you. I spoiled that one on purpose.
As far as that guy didn't catch a Avada Kedavra right in his booty hole.
Well, yeah, I had to go there. Huh?
Where else would you put it? Leave it for maximum effect.
Hey, man, leave those to Doug.
And moving right along.
Yeah, please.
This next comment comes from our post-apocalypse episode from our good friend Nikki XOXO. She says she really enjoyed listening to us on this topic. Yay!
Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you. That was one of our weaker episodes, I thought, too. But started off strong, I think.
I love all of our episodes, but
that's one of those ones, and I'm not going to say which episodes, he worked his magic on, but that's one of those episodes where Rudy really fucking, worked his magic. He mentioned it on our last episode about,
Yeah, really fucking good. Yeah, shut up. Really good. I apologize I was spicy drunk. I was spicy last episode.
I do feel like we do get a lot of like personal comments from people that we know, that say that they're not big time nerds, but they say that they enjoy listening to us and that they feel interested or interested enough to go check out some of the things that we do talk about. So we do appreciate that stuff.
Yeah, one of our followers, Ruby is a Jewel. She says, I don't really follow like any of the nerd stuff that you guys are into, but listening to you guys talk about it with such fervor, it makes me want to be more of a nerd. I don't know if she said it like that, but yeah, you get it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
like spreading that enthusiasm around.
Yeah, I dig it.
That's why I jotted this one down, because I enjoy comments from people who aren't necessarily steeped in that nerd culture, but they hear us talk about a subject and they enjoy it. Like, that's a plus for me. I like that.
Oh yeah, when we went to the restaurant for your birthday, shout out to Rick. He was talking to us about that. He was saying I want to immerse myself in more nerdiness.
Yeah.
One of us. One of us. One of us.
One of us. Put your shirt back on, Doug.
Here comes a random comment, because this wasn't related to the post that it was they were commenting on, but user Seek the King says, great show as always. Suggestion for show content, spoof movies, i.e. Naked Gun, etc. How do we feel about that?
You know what? I'll write it on the board right now.
Spoof movies.
Yeah,
like I love I was gonna say satire. Ooh. Do not pull my butt plug out without warning next time. Jesus Christ.
That's tight.
Well, don't keep the pen there.
I know the jewel at the tip says pull me, but fucking ask permission.
You had to get the whiteboard marker butt plugs.
This is the sound of a butt plug coming out of Ruby's butt.
Man, we need like a tally of how often we bring up butt plugs. Whether it's a Sephiroth butt plug.
Oh my God. The last episode
we talked about slopping lube off of it.
You were talking butt plugs. You were talking butt plugs in relation to like advertising My Little Movie podcast.
Oh, because you had said something. Oh, you were plugging. You were plugging it.
And then I said butt plug it.
Yeah.
And then
that's a trigger word for me.
I might
but the detail you
I might have cut that part because I don't remember hearing it when I listened back, but I remember suggesting that they be your face on the tip. So that's the part you can see just creeping out between the cheeks.
I don't want that to be a confirmation for our like pod art.
Anyway, that was all the comments fit to be mentioned here.
Different emojis so they match your happy faces.
Hold on.
It'd be a straight face. Happy, sad, like just whelmed.
Yeah. So going back to that comment, spoof movies, parody movies, and stuff like
Parody.
that.
There, I could not think of the word. I'm like, he said spoof, and he just wiped my head. I'm like, aren't they called something?
Parodies,
I was like,
there's a lot of good ones.
Anything from the Wayans brothers?
Oh, well, the originators. Not the originators, but
Naked Gun.
The originators
Space
of
Gun, Hot Shots.
of the stupid spoof movies, the Not Another Teen Movie, those ones, like the start of that series, is amazing from them.
Yeah, we'll cover that. So thank you. What was
the name?
Seek the King.
Seek the Kings.
What was the name of that martial arts spoof movie?
Kung Pao into the Fist.
Kung Pao.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen that movie?
Yes.
Yes. We went to go watch that in theater.
I used to quote that movie left and right. Holy shit.
I still quote that fucking movie.
That movie got me in the beginning.
Man.
When that baby was rolling down the hill, so cute, and just kept
Throws it back down.
devastated.
Rachel, to this day,
Stomach plug back there.
to this day, Rachel cannot buy Neosporin.
Nah. Neo.
Nah.
Sporin.
Like, she just stopped buying it after that. She's like, no, I can't with you. Fuck out of here.
We're doing spoofs. We're totally doing spoofs.
Absolutely.
That was the time.
But yeah, those are the comments. And as always, keep them coming.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
keep them coming.
We'll
keep
get featured on the podcast, and we will answer you.
yeah.
We'll answer you
Comment,
so hard.
comment, and also give us show suggestions.
Or like
Yeah.
Doug always says,
We love conversation and keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember what I say all the time.
that tagline should be on a shirt.
I remember what I say all
with
the time.
Doug's face down.
Mock it up.
I did.
Keep to keep the conversation going.
No, it says it says
Center
so it's
all.
a really good movie.
No, I like those too. Like,
Yeah.
you make all those, and eventually I will have them made.
You got it, buddy.
I love merch.
Oh, and can we mention that today is your official birthday?
Yes, today is my official birthday. I'm officially old. We were just kind of mock celebrating it over the last podcast.
I mean, we're all old every day. We're as young as we're going to be.
Yeah, he shares a birthday with Kobe Bryant.
Is that right?
But yeah, greatness was born on this day.
Well, happy birthday, buddy. Love you.
Thank you.
And Kobe
didn't say
got
it
all
back.
the great.
For my birthday,
You didn't say it back.
For my birthday, I got a few very nice gifts.
Yeah.
One I would like to highlight right now is currently hanging over here to my right.
It's a crazy dildo.
This an Ahsoka Tano clone trooper helmet.
That's fucking great.
And
Who got that for you?
And that's what we call a segue.
Look at this guy.
Ahsoka, the series.
I didn't watch
Love it, hate it.
I didn't watch it.
First 2 episodes. Let's
great.
fucking get into
Loved
it.
it. Loved
Oh,
it.
man.
Loved it.
So good. So
I'm
good.
glad they gave us 2 episodes because the way the first episode ended, I'm not going to say anything right now, but I was like, you mother.
Oh, no.
You gotta give a spoiler warning?
No, we'll put the spoiler warning. But fuck them. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone else can go fuck themselves.
But hold on. Let me be the one to. Spoiler warning. Here.
Imperial spoilers have entered the base. Imperial spoilers have entered the base.
Okay, it's all settled.
But yeah, I'm absolutely tickled that we got 2 episodes to start with. This is supposed to be the longest of the shows. Actually, we're supposed to get like, I don't know. It was like an insane number. It was like 20 episodes.
Can I
In one season.
Yes,
Can I comment?
I was going to say Andor got like 12, right?
I'll have to look that up. But yes, it was like an insane number of.
Can I comment on what Jermaine was alluding to?
Go ahead.
Right? Is
Yeah. Flesh it out,
character name?
Ahsoka. Sabine.
Sabine.
Miss Ren. If you're nasty,
Okay, Sabine gets fucking
And I am.
tagged with the lightsaber.
Oh, yeah.
Where's justice for Qui-Gon Jinn? The fuck?
no, that was off the midline. Darth
Yeah.
Maul was aiming for his fucking his center line and his spine. Like fuck this
Hey,
shit up.
hey, I stand corrected. I sit corrected. I'm not standing for the
First
show.
of all,
Qui-Gon did the
and I'm
like
not
Qui-Gon
quite-
can stand?
Qui-Gon did the whole, like, I'm done.
No, he got cremated.
Qui-Gon got Oh, that's
you
right.
standing
That's
for
right.
Qui-Gon?
Okay, sorry.
Not that I'm the biggest Darth Maul stan, but that fool know how to penetrate a body.
Jesus. I said fucking let Doug do those.
He knew where to
No,
put it.
I'm-
He knew where to put it. Oh, fucking wrong. See, this is what happens. It's only 8 episodes. Oh. What the
Oh
fuck?
my goodness. You done.
No.
That's kind of
Mia.
disappointing. I mean, hopefully that means that these are going to be like some good meaty episodes. They're going to kind of get to it because Andor was 12 episodes, but there was certainly
I
like
didn't even
those.
look at the
fillers.
episode list.
Yeah,
Some fillers.
There was some fillers are just kind of slow spots. I don't know if any episode was a filler, but like there was definitely filler scenes.
Nothing compared to the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh my god!
Even the latest season of Mandalorian.
I will stab
had
you
some
with the
fillers.
lightsaber later.
Yeah.
I was like, "Ugh."
Well, so that's one of the things that I am excited about with Ahsoka versus Mandalorian, which I love the Mandalorian, but you know they're kind of meandering episodes, which is fun. We're exploring this area of Star Wars. But one, I didn't see a fucking desert, thank God.
Oh my god!
And
Yes, those are one of the things that like stood out. I was like,
there was dirt.
finally, no
Yeah.
desert.
There
God
was no
damn
sand.
it!
Oh, but you
Yeah.
guys are missing out. Wait. Hopefully, I didn't mishear somebody. But when it started, we got the scroll back, didn't we?
it was like red. It was different.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a different. But
It was a lazy man
we
scroll.
didn't used to get those in the other ones. But I remember they said that they were going to start to bring those back.
Yeah, but Clone Wars had them too, right? So I feel like it kind of fits with Ahsoka's character.
I don't know if I'm remembering it right, but didn't Rogue One have that same?
Red font.
It wasn't red.
But I remember it was just like a block of text.
Yeah.
One of them was a block of text.
It must have been Rogue One.
Shit, we'll have to double check that. Remember,
Take us with a grain of salt.
don't quote
Yeah.
us.
I didn't take
Google
any.
it.
I didn't take any notes, but I did watch Ryan Airy from Screen Crush. Like fucking that motherfucker came out with like the Easter eggs. You know, his
Oh,
whole
I meant to
video.
watch that too before we started.
Yeah, and he had that,
to it.
and like he covered some, and I barely retained some stuff, but apparently like the whole red font thing is alluding to Rebels. Yeah. So a lot of stuff. Hell, there's even like when Sabine is like touching the mural and
Oh,
that
yeah,
whole
yeah,
scene.
yeah.
That was
That's
straight from the cartoon.
Yeah.
That whole scene was just shot for shot from the cartoon. Which that's the question that I'd asked you guys before we started was I'm really curious for someone who hadn't watched the cartoon at all, like what it was like watching.
surprise, surprise. That would be me. But
Oh, yeah, I thought you did, but you watched Bad Batch.
I watched Bad Batch, and I was meaning to watch someone on whatever social media was saying to watch this, that, and the other episode of Rebels, and then you kind of know what's going on in Ahsoka. And I have done some like mild research here and there because I don't want to be completely out of the know. But that being said, I didn't watch those episodes. I'm happy that these 2 episodes of Ahsoka did give a little like exposition here and there for those like me who don't know a lot about it, or like my wife who hadn't done any research or know anything about that. And so you're still able to, follow the storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't bust all the exposition all over your face. It was just a little light here and there.
But didn't they
You're able
say
to rub it into your thigh.
they say that if you didn't watch all of Rebels, that you can just watch
Season 4.
season 4 or whatever it was?
Yeah, season 4 was certainly where they set up a lot of this, I think.
I tried to pile drive Rachel through season 4, and she couldn't do it in the week. So I ended up going through some recap videos. Screen Crush did a 30-minute one on that we sat there and watched. So she was like, like the Matrix. I plugged her in and downloaded all the info. And she's like, I know Ahsoka.
Yeah, but they did a well enough job, I think, explaining a lot of the stuff that even if you hadn't watched it. Ezra was probably the one that they're like, if you didn't know anything about the cartoon, you'd be like, who the fuck's this Ezra guy?
Yeah, as far as like who he is, they don't. Which leads me to the next thing, right? Although they did inject the exposition for those who haven't watched Rebels, they still didn't have like overly done unnecessary dialogue, And I say it ad nauseum. It's a whole show don't tell, and they let the actors, great cast, they let the actors act. They let them like show the emotion along with like the musical score and everything like that. They let all of it play out. And so although someone's not saying what is happening, why they're upset or whatever, they're showing it. And it felt the show, like just in those 2 episodes, it felt like a completed thought. It felt complete.
You can feel the tenseness between certain characters.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't, watch the cartoon.
Yeah.
You can feel that this group was close and that they were together, and
Exactly.
something happened and they were separated, but now they're kind of forced to get back together and get the band back together, figure this thing out, what they need to do. and it just worked for the characters. Like I said, you just felt, this thing between these characters, and you're just like, it's real.
And I think, yeah, good.
Oh, on that point about the band getting back together, I think it's important to discuss timeline here. The cartoon took place before Rogue One. So before the very first movie, before Episode 4, Rogue One, the cartoon kind of led up. And actually, their ship Ghost and Chopper, and I think Hera is mentioned in Rogue One. They took part in that battle over Scarif. So it's been some time, since we saw them in the cartoon and where they're at now. And I thought that's kind of an interesting thing to see how much they've grown. And obviously, like, Hera's a general now. And
What did you guys feel? How did you guys feel about the last scene in the second episode that was pulled from the cartoon? Of
like the whole walkout, the whole mural and the walking out and stuff.
Because from what I understand, it made one think that like it was at a different timeline or different point in time.
Well, because the cartoon ended with like a time jump, like they had beat Thrawn in the battle, and then I think
they go through episodes 4, 5, and 6, and to the end of the Battle of Endor and the defeat of the Empire, and then what everyone kind of split off to do after that. And this is kind of picks up in that same space.
Speaking of, like, you put the air quotes on the defeat of the Empire.
Allegedly.
Right. Don't you love the way that they sort of show how, like, cocky the Republic, the New Republic has been?
I love how much they're showing how cocky they've been. I love how much they're showing, like, we've talked about this before in the last Star Wars episode, how the bureaucracy really didn't change because it can't. I appreciate how much they explore the massiveness of a galaxy.
Yeah.
And the idea of running either a republic or an empire, like, it's going to be hard. And so this idea that, the New Republic has to bring in old Imperial agents and Imperial, like, workers to work for them and just trust they're going to, like, go along with it. And
I'm like, most people, like, say we had a regime change in the United States, but they kept everything mostly the same. Would we even notice? Like, without like a wholesale, like, stripping of rights.
Yeah.
Like, if it was just, ideals at the very, very top that didn't really trickle all the way down to the rest of us, like, would we care?
Yeah, I think there'd be like maybe sections of it, and I'm thinking more of the Star Wars world, but because they talked about it in, God, I think it was that episode of Mandalorian when they were on Coruscant. There was like the upper elites that were like, it's not the Empire anymore.
You're right.
It's not the Empire anymore.
Yeah.
It's the Republic. It's like, oh, it's all the same. Like, your upper elites probably wouldn't care, especially like on Coruscant. But there would probably be some sections that would feel it. But yeah, you're right. I mean, like, workers would probably just keep on working.
Because I think I can't cite any specific episodes, but I think it was a combination of some episodes or just Andor entirely, and that one the Coruscant episode of The Mandalorian, where they really kind of talked about like the ex-imperialists. And at one point they just go, I think somebody said, like, look, I'm getting 3 square meals. I don't care who it's coming from. At a certain level, like, you don't care.
Yeah.
In like the original trilogy, you're following like, the whole Skywalker saga, but everyone else below a certain level, like, kind of doesn't give a shit, And they sort of like cover that as well in I think it was the second episode of Ahsoka.
I mean, let's just start. The coolest thing right off the bat when Ahsoka like brushed the dirt off that like symbol, and then the trailers had already shown that she did like the circle thing to go through, but I did not notice that she like threw him in the ground and like
you didn't see?
Force twirled it.
To quote Doug, hot.
Yeah, hot.
That was good.
I was watching that, and when she started doing the brush off, I was really expecting her to just be like, to like do a little force slap and
Same.
like,
Yeah.
like that would have been cool. And then she stood up and did that. That shot, I was like, all right, okay, I see it.
You know what that was? When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's Kate Beckinsale from Underworld. I love that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what it was.
I love that.
That is perfect.
I love that.
And subsequently Mythbusters.
Oh, yeah. But
Go ahead.
before we even jump to that scene, I just like the beginning. The tone was set when you had the two quote unquote Jedis that
Oh, yes.
went aboard the ship. I was like, I know. He said, let's call their bluff. I was like, You was about to unalive yourself.
From what I saw, that was a parallel to, I think, A New Hope. And I mean, even like the way that the ship was docking. So that, I love those callbacks.
I just like the fact that in this universe, this type of world setup, that you could legit have 2 Force users just go on a ship and just wreck house. And damn near nobody could do anything about it.
Which I think, because we've discussed before, like the Jedi, I don't think on the show, but like the Jedi Council might not have been the best people around. Definitely a little cocky, but you see the power of Force users with lightsabers and how they can take out a ship, just 2 of them. And I could kind of understand the idea of like someone being like, we need to form some sort of school and control or keep people like making sure they're fighting for the right cause. Because Force user and mercenaries, because I mean they still haven't really established like if these guys are. I mean they got the orange lightsabers, so definitely Sith-like, but it sounds like they could just be mercenaries for the witches.
I think you were the one that said it though, that it's not orange lightsabers. Although we thought at first it was orange lightsabers, it was more of like a callback to the way that it was sort of. It looked,
one of these guys said it.
It looked orange, so because technically
I do
red.
have 2 things. One of them is a theory, and then the other one, because the witches aren't here.
I want to talk about that.
Are we gonna get Asajj back?
Fuck.
Who's
I
going
can't,
to
remember, I can't remember where they landed with their character, if she died or not.
Is it Asajj Ventress?
Asajj Ventress?
All right, enlighten me.
She was a Force sensitive witch of Dathomir, which is the
I got that much. Yeah, the whole Force witches.
So they're like a coven of witches that kind of use like a certain aspect of the Force, but it's more their own magics that they kind of weave into it. But Asajj Ventress was steeped. She's from that culture, steeped in those magics. But she was
Get him, Rudy.
She was a powerful Force sensitive who tried to. I think she tried to kill. No, she was in some kind of arena with Count Dookie, and she went through the.
Spooky
She went through. She went through everyone in that
Dookie.
arena and proved herself to Count Dookie. And I'm sorry, it's Count Dooku. I just call him Count Dookie. So he took her on as an apprentice and he trained her, but he didn't give her the full Sith mantle. She just more like a Sith assassin, as opposed to a full Sith Lord.
Yeah.
So during the whole Clone Wars, she's running around doing his business, and like towards the end there, she breaks with him. They have their falling out with the rest of the witches of Dathomir, the Night Sisters, and she goes her own way. She pops up in a few cartoons and stories. I don't know how her story wraps though.
I would love to see her in live action. I need that.
In the Star Wars Survivor, Fallen Order, and Survivor, there's more Night Sisters out there that when they crushed that little coven, there were survivors of that too that kind of went out into the galaxy and did their own thing.
Was she the one that gave Anakin the scar, or am I mistaken?
I don't know if that's canon because that happened in the Clone Wars mini cartoons, the minisodes.
Yeah.
But in that's how he got the scar.
Oh, okay.
I love how much Star Wars just gets so much more fun and detailed, and all these different factions and stuff. Like once you go beyond the trilogy stuff, and it's cool because the trilogies work. Here's a fucked up family doing fucked up things. You go beyond it, and there's so much more with the story of the Mandalorians and the sisters and all this stuff.
Well, like you say, world building.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yes. But
They're
also
doing it, Peter.
We slapped our
Count
dicks right now.
Dooku. I mean, I love an opportunity to say Dookie, but I mean, it's Christopher Lee.
He had my respect.
The Master
He
Swordsman.
legit had my respect, and Jermaine will feel me on this because he makes fun of this shit every time we watch episode 3. There is a scene where they get to the Chancellor in the ship. He's been kidnapped, and they turn around and face off. And Count Dooku's on a little balcony, like he walks in, and he does the most ridiculously
the flip thing. Yeah,
the most ridiculously CG flip I've ever seen in my fucking life.
And Star Wars is known for this.
It makes me want to throw the fuck up every
Yeah.
time I see it. I'm like, "Ugh," and I can't defend it. And fucking Jermaine's always like right there in my face, like, what was that? What the fuck was that?
But it's just one of those things. He just couldn't walk down the steps. He had to flip his old ass over.
I blame Lucas
Over
on
the
that
hood.
one. Remember I talked about like I
Lucas.
rewatched the prequels
Yeah.
and like he's like CGI, it's a thing,
Yep.
and then like fucking really went
You
hard
know,
on it.
but
Which I
don't
go ahead.
I don't mind it. It just looks off. But
Yeah,
if I had that force ability too, don't get me wrong, I would probably do the same thing. Like, especially if I'm old, like that too.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things, we're just looking at it. You're like, that's supposed to be menacing.
Man.
Going back to the sequels and exactly what you're talking about, like powers that are sort of like were shown and then never revisited ever again. When Ahsoka is running from the explosion, also those droids had some fucking powerful explosions.
Oh, yeah.
a la the Predator.
I was just thinking that.
Like,
too.
goddamn. And she's running from it. I'm like, force run, force run, force run.
She might not be able to do it. She
is
hasn't
force
unlocked
running.
it in the.
She's running faster than I could. Shit.
Yeah. She hasn't unlocked it in the skill tree yet. She's got to level up a bit. I was gonna
Ray, running faster. Okay.
totally gross, but I was gonna say, man, you could use the force to hover over a public toilet, so you don't have to actually sit down on it. You brought up how you use your
floating
force.
across
Now I'm
Get in
picturing
there.
Ahsoka
Get
taking
down
a
on
dump.
Get down on it.
I'm just saying.
Nope, my tendrils got in the thing.
But going back, I mean, like, I don't want to defend the prequels too much with the overuse of CG, but I can understand Lucas, creating this whole idea of Jedi Knights and the Force and blah blah blah, and then getting the technology to show it.
Yeah.
And just being excited, like, look, I can show this old man doing a flippy flip, because with this technology, let's do it. And like, I understand the urge to do it, but
And not to go too down the rabbit hole, did you guys like or not like Yoda flipping around?
oh, I loved that scene when it first came out. One, after watching that boring ass movie for so long,
Yeah.
and then to get that ending,
That is my least favorite of the Star Wars movies.
yeah. Well, I remember
Three?
that was two.
Two.
I remember leaving it thinking it was awesome because it ended with the beginning of the Clone Wars and that scene, and then like I think I went to watch it again in the movie theater and was just like, oh my god, can we get Sans horrible, can we get okay
Yeah,
okay, let's get to this
from
stuff.
there to Geonosis. And
Yeah.
the big blow up at the end was a walk.
But how'd you, Rudy and Jermaine, did you guys like Yoda flipping around?
I didn't mind it. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like I said, I don't hate that Count Dookie did that. It's just one of those things. Like I said, it just looked, a little bit off. It's not that I hate it. It's just one of those things. But for me, seeing Yoda do it, I can believe it more with Yoda doing it than him. But it's just one of those things. Like I said, I didn't mind it.
Later on, when you see Grogu doing that, I was like, that's fun.
But also, real quick, I think in episode 1, someone had alluded to like, and a master swordsman like Yoda. Someone had said,
Anakin says that to Obi-Wan. He was like, if you spent as much time with your piloting, with your lightsaber training, you'd rival Yoda. And he's like, I thought I already did.
yeah.
It's like, only in your head, motherfucker.
And I remember hearing that moment and thinking like, Yoda's a master swordsman. I always pictured him as a hardcore Force user because we've talked about this before. How like Jedi have
Your humor
some more-
rubbed off on me, and I'm like, what does that mean? He's got a big dick?
God damn it! Take this seriously. This is Star Wars, baby.
That's
You
not
think
a
about
walking
Yoda's
stick.
dick now?
Yeah, of course. That's why he has to have the cane.
Don't
It
cross the
holds him
saber,
up.
That's not his
baby.
walking
Don't
stick,
cross
I'm
the
telling you.
saber.
Yeah. If he didn't have the cane, his dick would make him fall over.
That's fucking canon now. That was a canon event, just having everyone. You feel the
That
fucking
fool's like
shockwave
to-
go out in the universe. Yoda walks in this fucking cage because that big dick energy is just too much.
What's Yoda's girl's name?
To handle.
So you got that
Yaddle?
tripod.
Dude, she took it like a champ. Spinner.
Yeah.
Force spin.
I think I just saw something about I think Yaddle's dead.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Like a comic book or something.
No, Yaddle died in the cartoons, the new cartoons that came out with Ahsoka's her birth, her childhood birth, the Tales of the Jedi. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched those yet. God damn it.
Where it had Count Dookie with the young.
Oh, spoilers!
Qui-Gon?
Spoilers, Doug.
Oh, okay.
Because there's
That would
that
be me.
there's that story in the Ahsoka story.
Yeah.
In that. And
Oh, you haven't watched those yet?
No, I think I think you
No,
guys
this
were
podcast is over,
You
so
guys were
we're gonna-
watching one day while I was playing games in the game room. So I think I like caught glimpses of it, and I was always like, oh, I do need to go back and watch it. But then like, I think they were like releasing a lot of Star Wars stuff at once because I think Bad Batch was like around. Like, so there was so much. I think I just kind of got lost in it all.
No, I was Galactus, baby. I was consuming everything. Everything. I hunger.
Sorry,
Isaac Dan-
Galactus is a trigger. Now that I play Marvel Snap, I hate that card. So you say it now, I'm just motherfucking Galactus. Throw my phone across the room.
To answer your question, yes, I did dig Yoda jumping around because how else would someone like that fight?
I don't know.
And he looks like a damn frog. I mean, that's George Lucas, for all of his genius, is a very simple man. He's like, it looks like a frog, make him jump. Make him jump. Oh, I love it, make him jump. Hold on, before we move off
Sure, yeah.
the CGI and all that stuff, there's a YouTube channel called Star Wars Analyst where he has, I don't know if he's uncovered, but the original lightsaber coordinator for the prequels, Nick Gillard, I believe is his name, he has behind the scenes where he choreographed all these duels for the original scenes that George Lucas wanted to film, and for whatever reason he changed it in the middle or they ran out of time or whatever. But he has like the original stunt pre-vised fights up there, and from what those were to what we got in the actual movies, it's fucking trash.
No. Yeah, I think
you're
I've
talking
seen
about
one
the
of them.
prequels.
Well, like I'll show you some videos later, or I'll shoot you guys the links. But the fight between Anakin and Dooku in the beginning of the movie
Seen those.
was way more vicious.
Yeah. Fuck. It
Obi-Wan,
told more of a story.
Yeah, Obi-Wan versus the General Grievous's Magna Guards was supposed to be longer than him just being like, you know what, F these droids, and dropped to, you know, a 10-ton anvil on them. Like just the Palpatine versus Mace Windu, it was a whole different movie.
Why do you think they did that?
But just George Lucas, man. I mean, he was constantly pushing the envelope of what he could do, and he asked for these great things, and then maybe some of them didn't quite fit with the story he was trying to tell. So he just kind of leveled everything down.
Oh, but speaking of
There
duels,
might have been time restraints too. I mean, back then,
That's it. It could have been any number of things, but we got what we got.
But speaking of duels, like I really like those hardcore Star Wars fans that literally watch these movies. And I believe it was when Anakin was fighting Dooku, the choreographed fight that he had with Dooku. Someone said that he tried to do that same fighting style with Obi-Wan because he beat Dooku with that. And it's just one of those things, you know, like you really have to be, you know, someone that's loves movies, loves Star Wars, because I've watched these movies a lot and I never sit there and analyze the fighting style to say, oh my
Yeah, it's
God,
like a
he's
frame by
using the
frame
same
thing.
style. Yeah, and it's one of those things.
Yeah.
But that's cool that it's in there like that, you know, because he defeated this person, you know, Anakin, you know, in his head, I'm going to use this style to try to take out Obi-Wan. And it's the same thing with my boy Darth Maul. Like, it's just one of those things, you know, he killed Qui-Gon with this certain style. So he tried to use it again on Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was ready for it. And it was just one of those things. I like those little moments in Star Wars when you find out, because it wasn't a thing that I noticed. But the Darth Maul one, I do say I noticed that one more because of when he tried to headbutt him with the
He pulled out his Trump move,
Yeah,
his
yeah.
finishing move. He's like, oh, I'm gonna skip right
And
fuck
I
all this
was
dueling
like,
shit. Skip right to the coup de grace.
yeah.
And-
But that's one detail for me,
yes.
anyways, about Star Wars that I really like that they put in there. You know, that they sprinkle throughout the movies.
Similarly, Rey in Episode 7, when she got the lightsaber finally at the end, she was using it similar to a staff. Like she was doing a lot of jabbing. And I noticed that because they had established earlier that she defended herself constantly with that staff. So it was kind of cool. Same idea.
Yeah.
She was used to fighting with a staff. She grabbed a lightsaber. She fought with it like a staff.
Yeah, those are those. See, with comics or even like books, that's one of the details that I think you can have that inner monologue for certain characters.
Yeah.
That if you're reading, you know, a comic book or even a story, you would hope that they would put that in there. And in a movie, it's just one of those things that you have to pick up.
Yeah. Reedy's
Oh my God!
ready.
One of the to speak to that, the novelization for Episode 3, when Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting Dooku, it's Dooku's inner monologue. He's like setting up his tactics. He's like, fucking Obi-Wan likes to do that high flipping shit. He's like, I have this form ready for that. So as soon as he goes over my head, like I'm gonna hit him. Anakin likes the power stance moves and all that stuff, and he's like, I know how to counter that with this one. He's like, I'm ready. And as they're going, he's like, these motherfuckers aren't doing what they're. He's like, they switched. Like in his head, he's analyzing the fight as they're going. He's like, he's doing what he's doing. He's doing like they learned whole new forms to throw me off, and like that shit was cool as fuck. And also in the sequel movies with Rey and Kylo Ren, I don't know if you guys noticed, Kylo Ren has, when he's fighting with his red lightsaber, when he's using the dark side, he has his power. Like, it's power stance, power activation, like big swings. But when he gets the blue lightsaber and he's fighting the Knights of Ren, he goes from that to high flying, light, like very quick, like shit's going, like he's instead of being rooted and like just forcing his way through it, like you see him change his stance, like he goes back to his like light side training.
Like it's almost like Avatar, like, you know, certain nations in Avatar have certain stances and they fight certain ways.
Well, do you think Kylo was literally forcing it? I mean, his whole character was kind of like, I think deep down he was light side, and that's who he was. And then like he wanted to be that edge lord.
He was using his dark emotions to feel
he wanted to be like, I want to be this guy. Like because he wanted to be Vader so bad.
I think that was a very conscious change, and the change back that they, at least to me.
Speaking of the Knights of Ren, do you think that Balin's skull was a Knights of Ren?
That's a theory that's going around. I don't know.
Well, because I mean, Kylo's story with the Knights of Ren would still be what, like 10, 20 years after this point? Mm-hmm. Isn't there like there's like a 30-year gap, I think, between Return and
yeah, but the Knights of Ren were, and I'm once again I don't know everything about it because it was an offshoot of the comics. But the Knights of Ren were a thing before Ben Solo.
Oh, and they like picked him up.
And like I think he kicked their leader's ass and, you know, assumed command of them.
Okay. Then I hope they bring that in because that is certainly something that they never wrapped up. I mean, other than like comics.
Brings us all the way back to the
Ahsoka, because they the name of the droid, Hu Yang, right? Voiced by David Tennant.
Oh my God.
Which I didn't know
fucking
that.
love it.
Which I didn't know that before, and I'm listening to it and I go, that's fucking David Tennant.
I saw that shit in the credits. I was like, "Fucking give it to me!"
I didn't know that he voiced him in the Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so when Ahsoka has Hu Yang do the research on the lightsabers, the
yes,
and it's he recognizes Balin's skull as like he built that, but as a Jedi. Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about that? That he was once a Jedi and then went. I mean, has it been an established Sith?
I like it. Okay. So remember when I said I had two things?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So my second thing is, this is just me just throwing something on the wall because of what was it? Episode 2 of Ahsoka when she fought the Inquisitor. Mm-hmm. So didn't Ezra dabble in like dark side?
I wouldn't say dabbled, but he got kind of close to Darth Maul. Like, became his apprentice for a time. I think it's just that's a thing that every Jedi goes through with having to control their anger, and he didn't have like a very solid example of controlling your anger. So I think he told the line more than a regular Padawan would under a very strict teacher.
So because of the whole thing, with Thrawn and him and this whole crew and the band getting back together. Do you guys possibly think that Inquisitor could be possibly Ezra? Tagging along with these guys trying to pinpoint Thrawn, but because she said that this dude was a Jedi before and he built that lightsaber. So in my mind, because that was established in the story, that they're showing that this Jedi, became this, gray Jedi or whatever you want to say he is. Could it be possibly Ezra is maybe on that path? Because even Ahsoka kind of turned her back to the Jedi ways, and it's just one of those things. Do we know who this Inquisitor is?
Well, Ezra in the cartoon though, he was on that ship that the whales took it, right? Mm-hmm. The space whales,
Orgles?
The space whales took.
Was that what was making the noise when Balin was looking up? Like when he was on
the
the planet?
You could see it.
It was there,
You could see it. I was looking. I was like,
I couldn't see it. Oh man, I
the
heard
Force
it.
is not strong with this.
But anyway, they took the ship that had Ezra and Thrawn on it. So I it could be, but I don't see.
Okay, what I got from that was Burgle. Mm-hmm. Burgle. What I got from that was Thrawn was banished. See, when he got space whaled out, I thought he would just thrown back to his original home, like out in the unknown regions. Apparently now, due to the story, he was picked up, moved to a whole other galaxy, and exiled there. So it would depend on whether Ezra had a deep enough connection with the whales to be like, yo, let's drop him off and just, bring me back. Which, if he did, I think he would have popped up a lot sooner.
Yeah, because again, it's been 20 years or something.
So if he got left there with Thrawn, then he's still there. Like, because if there was a way back, Thrawn would have found it by now.
Geppetto and Pinocchio got picked up by the whale.
which also kind of blows my whole thing out of the water about thinking that these Jedi were, or at least these Force sensitives were, on Thrawn's side. Like they were all working together in the unknown regions and were coming back to the proper galaxy. So these are but these are Baylan Skoll's a mercenary Jedi who survived Order 66 and went into hiding and then became a mercenary, and then along the way picked up his own apprentice because she wears the little Padawan braid.
Yeah, I saw that.
But Hu Yang says he didn't recognize her design,
Right.
So she wasn't there during the Jedi Order. So he probably picked her up somewhere along the way as a Force sensitive and decided to take her on trainer. And then the Inquisitor, to me, is just like as soon as the Empire fell, it was everybody for themselves. So I think it would be a disservice to Ed Ezra's character if he came back as that masked Inquisitor. I mean, they could.
Do you think it's the Grand Inquisitor?
I don't think. No, he's dead.
Nobody ever dies in the Star Wars.
I don't know, but Darth Vader trapped his
I
spirit.
remind you about Palpatine.
Darth Vader trapped his spirit somewhere so that he could, toil for eternity. Yeah.
Hot.
to quote me, what?
But anyway, just like his Padawan, it was just another errant Force user that he kind of picked up. Like, well, we're not Jedi and Sith anymore. It's all gone to shit. Like, let's just make our living.
And also the reason why I do have my own doubt on my own theory is the fact that when he or she fought Ahsoka, she didn't get an inkling of,
Yeah.
I don't
who
know
could this be?
how deep their connection was, but when she fought Vader
I was gonna say
in the Rebels
she didn't
cartoon,
know.
she
She had
sensed
to
that
look,
was Anakin.
She had to look real deep though.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know how much Ezra could have progressed between, the end of the Rebels and now. But I think he would probably be easier to read than the drastic change that went from Anakin to Vader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys hoping that we get Vader in this series?
I'm hoping we get Anakin.
I would like a throwback scene like they did in Obi-Wan with
Like Anakin? Oh, okay.
with Anakin in character.
Well, I was saying like it could still even be Force Ghost, right? Because I mean, at the end of Return of the Jedi, Hayden Christensen's Anakin was there smiling at everybody. So he has the ability to come back as a Force Ghost. So he could show up as a Force Ghost to Ahsoka.
He absolutely could.
I don't know if I want that.
I don't know where I fit that in the story, but he absolutely could. Yeah. But then I was surprised that this whole 2 episodes, I was surprised. I was like,
Didn't one of the trailers like have audio of her like saying something to Anakin? But it sounded like it was a present conversation.
Or is it Anakin doing a voiceover?
They did that too, but
yeah, that's what I heard.
okay, maybe I don't know.
I didn't hear the other part.
Before we move away from
I did try to stay away from trailers.
Smart
people not necessarily being of Sith or of Jedi. Did they sort of infer, or did Ahsoka herself sort of imply that she tortured
a little
Morgan?
bit?
I think
little bit,
right?
Yeah. Well, I think they also established though that she can read minds. Can read minds, right? Because she, when Sabine was hurt, she was hearing Sabine's thoughts.
But for a Force Witch, I don't know if it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, all Jedi can do.
Most
maybe that's
Jedi
what,
can pick up impressions like that, but she was getting very detailed.
Yeah.
Unless she was like picking up the Force echoes. But I feel like the way that she sort of like, not winked at the camera, but winked at Hu Yang is like...
how did you get her to be so honest? It's like, it wasn't by using standard Jedi protocols.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So I was curious if it was torture or just her really good mind reading.
That Force butt plug.
Again.
The little Jedi wings on the tip. Yeah.
Hey, you don't always have to force it if you're willing.
Pour
me another.
Going back to, not that we could just talk about lightsaber duels.
I'm still practicing.
Sabine.
Pour me a shot. Don't butt chug it. What the hell are you doing?
Sabine Wren.
Plug back in.
One, were you guys surprised that? Because I don't think they alluded to her for. Well, no, because she had the Darksaber. She had the Darksaber in the Rebels cartoon,
and she trained with Kanan on how to like wield it, but they never hinted that she was force sensitive at all.
Yeah.
So what she's having? Oh, you talking about like the dreams that she was having?
No, I'm just surprised that they leaned heavily into her like being Ahsoka's Padawan, like continuing with it. Like once she lost the Darksaber, I figured that'd be it for her because she's a Mandalorian, and I think like explosives, right? She would build a lot of bombs and all that, and which I'm really glad they still like show her being very much a tinkerer and figuring things out
And an artist as well.
Yeah. But anyway, shocked that she's a Jedi.
They, like I said, they never really leaned into that in the cartoon that she was force sensitive at all, and they kind of her little interaction with Hu Yang about her talent, like she exhibits very little talent, but they're still hinting that she does have some talent.
Yeah, because I think even Ahsoka said like you were never very strong with the Force or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That and also the conversation that Ahsoka had with Hera about like and she, it was so funny. She goes, Ahsoka says, "Well, she just wasn't ready," and then I'm like, "Well, how the hell do you know when she's ready?" And then Hera goes, "Well, how do you know when?" I go, "I should have just waited for her to ask the question." I'm like, "How the fuck do you know when someone's ready?" And I think that maybe because of all of this, and they showed Sabine maybe having like a forced dream that maybe she's ready, and Ahsoka sees that in her.
I mean, at this point,
She just loves her haircut.
They would kind of have to, because like, what would be the point of having a Padawan that couldn't use the Force? Like
Well,
at
she
that
cut
point,
her hair, so that symbolizes she's ready.
Some Jedis are way more Force users, and then some are way more like Blade users. And I think she's probably going to go on to be a pretty good Blade user.
more martial than
Yeah, they went
the
down
Force
that
touch.
talent tree.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But speaking about like Sabine's readiness, and I've talked about this before in world building, how one thing I love about Star Wars is world building is they show you a reason why anyone would fight, or a reason to live. And so Sabine, I think that little glimpse of her, not glimpse, it was a long scene, too long a little bit for me, but when she was on the speeder and she was listening to the music and they were doing like the close-ups on her face and she was doing the smirk.
What else did they have a close up on?
I don't know, her boots. No.
I'm having a carrot cake delivered.
Yeah.
So that just reminded me what you were talking about.
Perfect. Orange pants too. It showed like
I'm gonna eat the shit out of it now.
I almost felt like she was in a way retired. Like she was kind of living this comfortable life. She was doing the things she liked. She had her music. She had her little home. She was still drawing. And I think like, cause it's been some time. And so as far as her being ready, I feel like maybe Sabine just got that little like taste of normal life, and maybe she kind of liked it a bit.
Is that what you saw?
I
had a different take.
Yeah, I
because
didn't think she liked the normal life at all.
it was more of like Ezra told her he was counting on her, and she took that to mean, because she stayed on Lothal and she didn't go back to Mandalore or hang out with any of the other Mandalorians. Like she was waiting for something. Like she was like, he told me he was counting on me, and she couldn't figure out for what. So she hung around to see that, and then
but not in the main city.
That's when
okay.
Ahsoka kind of picked her up and started tutoring her. Maybe she thought that was the path, and then they butted heads and they split. So she went back to Lothal to wait.
So yeah, I was gonna say maybe it's not that she liked that life, but she was so attached to this idea of Ezra coming back.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't enjoyment, but it was still Lothal itself keeping her from going on that Padawan path. Okay, I like it.
That's what it smelled like to me, anyway.
Yeah, I also appreciate. I mean, obviously, for those of us that know the cartoon or watched it, we knew that she was a Mandalorian, and they mentioned it pretty quick for her. But I'm really happy they didn't start her off in that armor, just because. Again, I was trying to put myself in the position of someone who didn't know anything to like start a show off with this. Oh, God damn it, another Mandalorian! Because the last few we've gone right. So it was cool that they didn't have her in the armor. They showed the helmet pretty early on, like just stuffed in a box. They mentioned it, and then finally at the end we got her, fully armored up and stuff. I thought that was kind of a nice touch to not distract from the storytelling until it was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I also sorry.
No, keep going.
The duel with her and the other Padawan, which I didn't get her name, but
Sanju. Sanjay Gupta. It's an S something. I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was cool because you could tell
Shin Hati.
Shin. See, I knew it was an SM.
you could tell both of them knew what they were doing, but like not the greatest at it. Which that would be the thing for that time period. Because even Luke would have had like no one to train against, lightsaber usage wise.
And that's why he's doing his little kata forms in the book of Boba Fett, to keep sharp.
Yeah, but and then even them, like, so obviously Balin brought his Padawan on, but like he would have been the only one. I guess the Inquisitor, so she probably would have had a few more people to train against, like who really knew how to use a lightsaber. And same with Sabine, like she probably trained with Ahsoka, but like now it's real. Now she's fighting someone that she didn't train against with a different style and everything like that. Like I thought they did a good job, like showing that they weren't the best, but they knew what they were doing. And when she got stabbed, there was a split second of me of like, are they going to kill her off? Because the trailer, only showed like pretty much these first couple episodes. But then I remember the trailer showed her with the short hair and in the armor. But there was a split second of me was just like, holy shit. Like, are they going to do it? But,
Dude, I really thought,
I didn't think they were going to because like Rudy mentioned like the placement of the stab. I was like, she could still live. But if Darth Maul got cut in half
For real.
and fell down that
For real.
I did first.
Palpatine?
Yeah, somehow Palpatine.
it's just
came
a
back.
flesh wound.
I
To the
that
flesh
shirt.
wound.
I for a moment thought that Ahsoka was going to show up and like force healer just because they really want that to be a thing after everyone gave it shit.
It would have been so cheap. That's what I will comment on is that the show didn't seem it had anything cheap in it. Like it didn't like
Like they weren't trying to force anything.
bingo. Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah, I know. Set you up for that one. There you go. You're welcome. Happy birthday.
But everything looked good. Like the CGI, everything looked good from the moment it started. Like I was really looking at the CGI. I'm like,
Looked great.
this is movie level.
Yes.
and the
yes.
prosthetics, like Hera looked
Yeah.
good. Like
Yeah.
Everybody looked good.
Oh my God, Mary Elizabeth
Oh
Winstead.
my God! Thank you.
Orange pen.
Oh, it's even hotter in the green. I need it.
no, put the goggles on.
To the garage. I need it. The
Jeez.
Phantom Compa. Fuck, you completely derailed me. Now I'm thinking about
what happens.
Mary Elizabeth. Oh, speaking of that, earlier my wife comes running into the room. She was like, "Were you aware that the person playing Hera was the same person that played Ramona Flowers?" And I'm like, "Oh, you're so fucking adorable.
Cute.
I love you.
You're precious.
Aw.
You regular.
Babe, I love you. You make me happy."
That scene with Hera when they were at the shipyard. I love it 'cause it's just like, oh, that's classified. She's like, I'm a general.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they're like, oh, we can't tell you. He's like, I'm sure you can. Like, and then so smart, like, showing her kind of that character, like joking a little bit, but
Yeah.
also being serious, but then very quickly recognizing, like, we don't have ships that can use that. The hyperdrive, like, we don't make ships that big. And
I
like,
love it.
It's like, okay, it's like witty, but also very, very smart and knows her shit. Like, there's a reason she's a general.
It was a fun scene because of that, and also like it was like subtle enough with like oh something's going on. I thought like the rest of the crew were looking over as like, oh, what's going on over here? But then after they do that like the second or third time, you're like, these motherfuckers are imperialists.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought they were going for like the cheap, oh, look at, we don't know if they're on our side or not kind of thing, where like it's fine, and then
This is fine.
Homeboy jumped up with for the Empire. I'm like, oh no, son, you're all going, you're all going down.
It's fun that they would even try with the Jedi in the room.
Right?
Like, I would even if I was like the most loyal imperialist ever, I'd be like, oh, this is it. Like maybe if a general like Hera came in, I'd be like, oh, okay, we could take her out. Oh, Jedi, no, we're good.
No, but they wouldn't-
for the New Republic.
They wouldn't know. Isn't there a point in the timeline where people don't remember, not necessarily remember Jedis, but don't remember the level of the power?
When the Empire took over, the huge propaganda campaign to. I mean, that's why like Han Solo, like that hokey religion or whatever. Yeah, and then so within that time period, the Jedi were still very much a myth. I mean, I'm sure the word that Luke Skywalker, blew up the Death Star the first time, and then I'm sure like the legend of Luke Skywalker got around, but not everywhere.
I love how Luke Skywalker puts the fucking fear of Satan into the Imperials that know Luke Skywalker. Like, Death Star Killer,
Yeah, and we saw it with
Emperor Pile Driver, Darth Vader smashing, motherfucker is coming.
Yeah, Moff Gideon. Like that's that first scene.
Limousine driving.
I
Yeah,
Woo, his look so fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh shit, it makes me misty just thinking about it. Like he knew, he put respect on his name. Oh, I need to take a shot.
I am excited for this series though because we're getting. I think I was
20 episodes.
Fuck, I don't know. Why I heard that.
I was trying to get at this earlier because
I gotta
when I
stop
was saying
drinking.
how Mandalorian was kind of meandering and this, but this feels like it's going to be very much like a quest and like there's like a
We need to get
a
to
goal,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we so that makes me even more excited for like every episode because I feel like it's going to be one of those things like what are they going to figure out next? Like where are they going to be? Like are they going to get are they going to get to Thrawn at the end? Are they going to get there quickly and we're going to get more? Who knows?
Do you think they're gonna go season 2 on this? Do you think they'll wrap it all up in one?
I think there's enough story to be told to go to episode 2 because I can't.
Season 2, yeah.
Sorry, season 2.
Fucking idiot.
I know.
I planted that
unless
Star Wars,
so
bro.
what was it? 8 episodes, so there's 6 left. So I mean, unless they get to Thrawn, that other galaxy, like next week, or maybe like the end of next week, and then we would have episodes 4, 5, and yeah. I mean, there'd be enough, I guess, to finish a story.
Like just look at Obi-Wan series, for instance. The whole meeting with him and Vader was that was the very last episode, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So could they do something similar to that where, you get all these episodes and then that last episode is that epic climactic battle?
Well, there's
Do
still.
you
There's
think?
there's far too much story to tell.
Yeah,
See,
I
that's
think it'll
what
be
I
the
think,
second
too.
to last
Yeah.
they reintroduce Thrawn.
I'd be so fucking pissed if we didn't get Thrawn until like episode 6 or 7. Like he needs to be there in 4 or 5.
Well, Rudy.
Like you can fuck around and play with lightsabers 1, 2, and 3, but 4 and 5 better be
Play around with lightsabers.
4 or 5 better. They better be like a world away on that little map jumping.
Yeah.
From Thrawn.
I think it's gonna, yeah.
I don't know. This man loves his Thrawn.
Oh my God, Thrawn!
Well, Rudy and
Is that why you had me put those red contacts in? Blue paint that one time?
Just shut up and maintain eye contact.
in our previous Star Wars episode, Rudy had explained what the old books did with Thrawn. While he was out there, he realized there was a bigger threat.
And they're still canon, right?
No, those books
No.
weren't. They've rewritten them a
I
little
thought they were
bit,
still
right?
canon.
The original aren't, but they brought him back to write new ones in the new continuity.
Like the Heir of the Empire?
If you listen to this podcast called The Hype Attack, there was an episode.
So check me out. They in our current continuity, current canon, they introduced Thrawn before the rebellion like officially forms. So before the first 3 movies, the original trilogy. In the books, he was introduced after Return of the Jedi, between the first and second sets of movies. So his history from there is not completely different, but different enough because they introduced him a lot earlier. So now they're right now they're going on a whole different kind of trajectory for his character. But the original author brought him back, still kept his characteristics, his traits almost intact. So he's not hardcore imperialist, but he is a hardcore. I'm smarter than you. Follow me, and we'll fucking win.
That I'm familiar with him.
You said, but the idea that he found a bigger threat, right? Is that still part of the canon?
Yes, because one of the recap videos I watched, they mentioned like an alien race called the Grisks that were they hinted that they're part of a larger empire out in the unknown regions, and they're moving their way. They're not on a conquest kind of tip. It's more of a like, we'll move in, we'll destabilize your governments, your people, and then we'll come in with our force and mess you up. So they're working their way across the unknown regions. They run into the Chiss Ascendancy, which is the alien species Thrawn belongs to, and they butt heads, and he kind of stops their advance. And then that's when he's like, oh, this is a lot bigger than I can handle, than my people can handle. And that's where he starts looking for allies, and then he gets banished from the Ascendancy and the Emperor takes an interest in him and brings him into the Empire, and he's like, oh, I can bring up this force, head it eventually, and then bring it back and, provide a unified front against these threats. But then he gets took out before.
Well, that's why I'm kind of curious then because we discussed the idea that Thrawn might not even be the big baddie, right? We think he is now. But going back to even your question about Ezra maybe turning to the dark side, I don't know if Ezra necessarily turned to that, but maybe while they were out there, they do see a threat. And when Ahsoka and the gang show up, Ezra might not be ready to go back, right? Because maybe he has started working with Thrawn because maybe they have seen something. It's a whole other galaxy.
Ooh, that's a more plausible
So they could get to Thrawn early, and we might get a little fight or something. But
Like,
then it
hey,
might
but
be like,
we need him. We
Yeah.
need him.
yeah, Ezra might run in to stop Ahsoka at the last minute. We're gonna get like the strike down on Thrawn, and then all of a sudden another lightsaber comes. Well, no, Ezra doesn't have it.
So you're talking about like Game of Thrones White Walkers, where it's like you have these two sides, but then there's like an ultimate threat that if we just work together that we have to fight against.
And that's why I think these stories work the way they're telling them, because if it's from an outside galaxy, like, it doesn't really impact the main storyline, because you could have this section of the universe fighting this other section of the universe, and it not be, the whole New Republic going to that, because New Republic has its own problems.
Yeah, because I think if the New Republic had to go face something like that, they would have been a much stronger position than what they were by the time Episode 7 happened.
Yeah.
Because they were pretty much decommissioned at that point.
They had a modest defense fleet that was in orbit around their, I think it was a planet called Denon. And that's what the Starkiller base blew up.
Yeah, with the weird splitty laser.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I agree with you. I think it makes a lot more sense for if they are going to go that route to have a big conflict elsewhere where the New Republic's not even involved.
Which is what I'm hoping the movie hits when the movie hits.
Oh, that's
It'll
right.
be the climax of that.
That's
of that whole
I
fight.
completely
Which movie?
forgot.
The one Dave Filoni was
That's
greenlit.
right. It's
to
a
kind of, it's supposed to wrap up all these storylines in this section of the time.
Mando's, Boba Fett's. I
I'm
don't know about
100%
Boba Fett's, but yeah, I forgot about that. So you're right. We're definitely not going to get a Thrawn.
It's a great time to be a
Finish.
nerd.
Yeah, no.
Absolutely.
I'm still angry, though.
Seriously. We're talking about shows and movies, and it's like, fuck.
I just hope that the studios and publishers of games and stuff, and I hope they focus on the storytelling and making us happy. You make us happy, we'll give you the money. I hope they don't focus on just making the money.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the last episode.
Yeah, quite a lot. A long time. A long slurry.
No,
But
it's a great point.
Yeah, just because he was drunk when he said it doesn't make it any less true. Fucking entertain me.
I'm saying I agree with
Here's
him.
my money.
Yeah.
I drunkenly agree with him. Cheers.
See, yeah, but that's the thing, though. It's we trust. Damn, his name escaped me. Dave
Filoni.
Yeah, Filoni.
No baloney.
Because what he's given us so far, I'm 100% with it. And if he's gonna have his Avenger style movie, let's go.
Yeah.
With Star Wars characters, I'm all for it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Sorry, I meant to look this up a little bit, but I saw something about a new anthology series or something because John Hamm is going to be the voice of Boba Fett in something. Have you guys read this, or did I like hallucinate this whole thing? Because I haven't seen much about it. So it's probably some fucking AI shit that I read and fell for.
Probably a drunk hallucination.
But
I
hope it
I might be
exists.
a little buzzed, but I swear to God, I saw like a headline or something about
because
that.
it was an anthology about basically what all these other characters were doing during Return of the Jedi, is what I read it was, and
don't know.
because
I
I
don't
love
think I
that
heard
idea because
anything.
that's kind of the thing that in a way bugs me a little bit. Between episodes 4 and 6, granted there was books and comics and games, but we haven't had other series address that. And you look at characters like Hera, who's a general in the New Republic, which means she survived the rebellion. She fought all of that. And where was she during all of this? They would all have such great stories to tell within that time period. So I hope this anthology thing wasn't like a weird fever dream of mine, because
John Hamm is reprising the Boba Fett role in a new Return of the Jedi anthology audiobook.
audiobook. All right.
It's going to be a collection of 40 short stories that celebrates the film's 40th anniversary.
40, wow.
40th anniversary. Holy shit.
It's called From a Certain Point of View,
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi.
Cool.
It's going to be about, supporting characters from around that time of Return of the Jedi. And they did a book called, I think it was Tales of Mos Eisley or Tales of the Empire. It's something like that, but they did like a whole book over where they went through like background characters from like Jabba's palace. Like that whole menagerie he has when Lando gets there and Han gets there and Leia gets there. Like each of those background characters got its own like story.
That's fun.
So
That's cool.
I this looks like it's in that same vein. Yeah. I'd love to listen to that.
Now that we're talking about Star Wars as a larger whole, I saw the director of Empire. I wrote his name down. Irvin
Irvin
Kershner.
Kershner.
I saw an old interview with him, and he was saying how, at a certain point while making that movie, he realized that Star Wars is not sci-fi; it's a fairy tale. And his explanation was like sci-fi movies, especially at that time, you would deal with like, scan the atmosphere on that planet before we land, like adjust or this. Like sci-fi was very much science-y, and Star Wars never really did any of that, and it was more of a fairy tale, and you can get away with like doing more stuff. And now, like ever since I read that, I was like, yeah, you know what, like I like it. I like looking at Star Wars more of that from that fairy tale thing than a sci-fi thing, because then you can kind of let more things go.
I heard somebody say the same thing. It was Lauren Lapkus's and Nicole Byer's show, where they're called Newcomers, where basically they're doing what me and my wife are doing. They haven't seen a thing, but they have a guest on who is well versed in it. And then he said, I forget the comedian's name, but he said that it's most definitely a fantasy movie than sci-fi.
Yeah, which is cool. Like I said, it allows you to get away with a lot more things.
Have you guys listened to the voice of Kanan in the Rebels? His name is Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah, it's Freddie Prinze Jr.
Have you listened to his rant on Star Wars?
Oh yeah,
You showed
that
me
guy
that.
is awesome.
He says exactly what you just brought up. Like Star Wars is a fucking fairy tale. Luke Skywalker is Cinderella, and instead of a fairy godmother, he gets a fairy godfather.
Yeah,
and he learns how to become the most badass Jedi overnight. Like it's the whole thing. Like if you haven't listened to it, you should.
Well, I think I brought it up in the other episode how Star Wars is actually Wizard of Oz, which is actually the Odyssey. Like they're all very, very similar. The same idea. Like
George Lucas pulled from all of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But Wizard of Oz is like straight up like Toto's R2D2. Then you have a Tin Man, you have a lion, you have a Scarecrow and Han Solo.
If you mean Toto saves everyone's asses in every
No, but
situation.
R2D2 ran off, and which led to Luke being taken away from this very monotone planet into a world of color. And Toto is what ran off and made Dorothy go over the rainbow.
Great point.
And they both had like evil mother figures or father figures, evil parental figures. They had the wizard, which would be Obi-Wan, or the wizard itself as like the seer, right? Because I haven't read the Odyssey in forever, but the Odyssey had like the blind seer, right?
The wizard Ben.
Yeah, yeah.
So Harry Potter is Star Wars?
Yeah, that too.
I started to notice a lot of archetypes here.
Yeah.
So if they, this is going to be off topic, but like within the Star Wars realm, like the Star Wars visions, from what we get from these, would you guys be excited if there was a movie created, like let's say Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon? If it was something, somebody created a movie, but it wasn't even, in the timeline or anything like that, would you guys be interested in an actual live action like Visions movie?
Yes, because I'm always on what Doug always says about like world building. You know what I mean? Like it there's so much more in the world of Star Wars and with like subsequent shows and movies where they've world built. They successfully have world built. I think I can speak for the fandom. I mean, we said at the beginning of the intro. Yeah. I mean, you'd have to tell a good storyline, but yeah, I want to live in that world of Star Wars, but like give me some more storylines.
See, because that's my thing with this universe being so vast, how it is. Yes, I like that we're sticking to the core group, the core thing that started it all, but at the same time, there's so much more out there that
exactly what I'm saying, yeah.
I would love to see another, story about somebody else within this galaxy. Doesn't necessarily have to be within the same timeline, but something else out there could be a good Star Wars story.
Well, I'll say this much, right? Like, you guys are the big heavies about like everything Star Wars, right? And so, like, watching Andor, I didn't think that I was going to be so interested and intrigued by like the political side.
Andor was fucking amazing.
Right? But
Absolutely.
it was about what made it great was like, here's this world, here's that main storyline with the whole Skywalker storyline, but like, what about everybody else? And then told it, and they told it in such a way where you can basically relate to it.
Yeah.
It's essentially like the everyday life, right? You hear all these news articles about like all the politicians and stuff like that, and you go, yeah, but what about me in the everyday life?
Yeah.
And so,
But they also showed like Senator Mothma.
Yeah.
Mothma.
Yeah.
I'm horrible with names. Trust me. But yeah, they showed even her like as a senator dealing. I mean, I don't think you'll ever beat a storyline of like a rebellion and like that, like the forming a rebellion. It makes this so much more suspenseful and entertaining and interesting.
Well, my point being is like there's so many aspects of the Star Wars world that can be told in such intriguing ways. Stuff that gets hinted at throughout, whether it be the prequels, the main trilogy, or the other trilogy. There's so many things that are hinted at that. Like, there's one thing as far as like a hot take, and I don't really subscribe to this, but I just want to give it to you guys. Is in A New Hope,
Continue.
where it was first mentioned about the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, I was
Right.
just going to bring that up too. Yeah, go for it.
Where it seems like it's just a big thing and it lives in your head, because Ben brings it up, and then you finally get the Clone Wars.
The cartoon was amazing.
Some people were saying that it was like, not as big as Ben was making it out to be. That's what some people were saying.
The cartoon is amazing, but the way they phrased it in the originals and how some of the expanded universe picked it up was that it wasn't the clones versus, the separatists. It was everyone else versus clones, mad clones, that the clone masters unleashed on the universe, that they couldn't cook them right. So when they matured, they were insane. And you have an army of insane clones.
That's much more interesting.
Of whoever unleashing havoc across the galaxy. And, they were fighting to push them back. That was kind of like, not the, I wouldn't say the shadow canon, but it was kind of like that's what they were hinting at. And even the Thrawn books, they call back to the Clone Wars, and they kind of describe it like that. Like it wasn't the conflict that we got. It was the clones versus the galaxy.
Yeah.
So when they did the Clone Wars and they changed it, Attack of the Clones, it was completely different. Some people had that. I had my taste was configured for this, and we got this. So I can see where the disconnect comes from that.
Yeah, I can see that too. Because that does sound a lot more interesting. But yeah, I'm glad you brought it up though, because it is a perfect example of just from the very beginning how the world building with just those hints. And yeah, the Clone Wars was certainly one. Even as a kid, and when I finally saw the movie, I was like, "What? What's the Clone Wars?" And it's so fun to be able to fill it in. And I mean, honestly, even if we never got any more from it, it still would have been fun. As nerds, we would have been having that conversation on what we think the nerds or what the Clone Wars were.
Jermaine, have you?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
To go more on your point though, The Mandalorian. That's why I was a little disappointed when they brought it back towards Luke and Ahsoka and Grogu with the Force. Like, because at first I was very much interested. We were finally going to get that story that was completely disconnected from the Skywalker saga. And it was like, oh, all right, cool. This is right on. We're going to get something
like spaghetti
new.
Western show.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh, here's Luke again. Badass though.
They did what they did, and then I think they had it mapped out the whole way from the get-go, but it does seem when you look back at it that it went halfway and they're like, well, we kind of went off the rails a little bit. Let's add a little Luke Skywalker to the mess. All right, we're back.
Off the rails, we can't relate.
Anyway, Jermaine, have you ventured into any of the High Republic stories?
No, I haven't dived into those yet.
I've read a couple of the books, and the books are good, and they're very strong on world building and showing what it everything was like before, or not before, but as hyperspace routes are kind of becoming more standard. So it shows a galaxy that's kind of going from like these local sectors to the big, giant interconnected galaxy because hyperspace is becoming more.
And all those are before all this stuff,
I think
correct?
they say it's
like
Yoda's around.
500 years before.
Because
So-
Yoda's still alive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something 500, 600. I think the High Republic. I think some of the stories are going to be like 700, and then some of the stories are going to be 500. But it's all within that time frame. But I love the main book line because I've listened to the first one. Great audiobooks because they do all the sound effects and stuff like that. I love that setup of just like you said, the hyperspace lanes basically being sabotaged in a way, and some shit happening throughout the galaxy, and like the hyperspace lanes getting shut down because of some of it. Like it's kind of interesting because, like Rudy was saying, like we were getting this connected. Did they call it a republic?
Yes.
Yeah, we were getting this like connected republic, and then now it's kind of not getting connected or like getting disconnected in ways. And I've only read the first one, so
It's about because it's the same problem. It's the same situation you have now that you had back then. You have the core worlds, then you have the rim, then you have the outer rim. You know, as you get further away from the center of the galaxy, communication is a little spotty. The government doesn't quite have that reach out there, so they take that world building. Like I said, like we're trying to establish bases. We're establishing remote Jedi temples, so that the Jedi can spread their peacekeeping roles, you know, more throughout the galaxy. And it just shows an era where the Jedi are ascendant, they're strong, but everything is still very much Wild Wild West.
yeah, especially on the rim.
Yeah, when it comes to the outer reaches.
Yeah, I'm really interested because we're getting a video game. We're getting like a full AAA video game at some point. I think that's a ways out, but
Weren't they doing some animated stuff too? Or is that just
yes.
the little?
the super little kid one.
Yeah.
I think the super little kid one is High Republic, but I want to say they announced another one, and then we've gotten comic books, we've gotten adult novels, and some YA young adult novels, which I've read one of those too, and it was fun.
Isn't the Acolyte supposed to be in the High Republic?
Oh yes, I think so. I think towards the end of the High Republic. I'm excited for that one.
Are the video games canon?
Anything made post acquisition from Disney, I think is. So the Jedi Fallen Orders.
Fallen Order, Survivor are
Asked and
canon.
answered.
I can't think of any story specific Star Wars games because Battlefront is just a big multiplayer game.
Because that's why I mentioned.
But Battlefront 2 had a story, and I think that's canon.
Yeah.
That actually had a really good story because you were following an Imperial
Is it Inferno
TIE
Squadron?
fighter. Yeah, Inferno Squadron. And the opening mission, you're on Endor, and you see the Death Star blow up, and you realize, and like you're an Imperial agent, and the Death Star with the Emperor is on it.
Fun.
And so it's like that instant moment after vacuum of power, and like, what do we do? Who do we listen to? Who's in charge?
Yeah.
And I love that kind of stuff.
No, I was mentioning the video games because of the Force Echo power that Ahsoka had. It looked like it was pulled from one of the, I think it was like the Jedi Survivor game.
Oh, his psychometry. Yeah, where you can touch an object and kind of like feel its past.
Because I hadn't seen any other characters
That's
do
good
that
video
with
game
it.
shit.
Cal said, yeah. I saw that word and I'm like, oh shit, that's a good word. How do you pronounce it?
Still haven't learned it.
Psychometry? Would that be it? Based off how you-
PSYCHOMETRY. So, yeah,
I would say
psychometry.
psychometry. That's cool though.
I do like the look of his lightsaber though.
Cal's.
Cal, oh, I love his shit.
Oh,
Like
did they establish what like the canon one looks like? Because in the game you could switch it all up however you want.
It's his master's double bladed lightsaber, but cut at the midway point, so it's just the one left. So if you go to Galaxy's Edge, they have the lightsabers on display that you can buy.
If you can squeeze in between everybody, it's fucking.
His is that design where it's like half of that double bladed hilt, and the bottom half still has that damage that where
Oh,
it was
cool.
shown being like blasted in half.
Right on. What color when you play those games? What color blade did you choose?
Oh, I rotate.
Okay.
I go from green to blue to orange to
Yeah, I was gonna say
I tried
orange,
red for a little bit and it didn't feel right. So I went back to the light side colors.
orange came with like the pre-order or the deluxe or something, right? Right? Yeah, I was using orange just because it's like, well, I fucking paid for it.
No, every time you hit the workbench where you can customize your stuff, like I'd always change out pieces and I'd always change the color.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna go really far back in your guys' own timeline. Years ago, when were you guys first introduced to Star Wars, Rudy?
My earliest memory of Star Wars is being in a movie theater and seeing Return of the Jedi, and I don't know how old I was, but I just remember being very small, and it came out in
84.
was it 84?
I remember. I just looked these up because I when I was at Disneyland last time, there was a like a ship sitting on top of one of in the Black Spire thing outpost, and I saw 3 numbers on it, and like those numbers look familiar, and I looked it up, and it was the 3 years. So it was 77. I want to say it's like 77.
By the way,
80.
thanks to you, I was like legitimately blown away by that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, that's like just the fun kind of Easter eggs that you can find there at
I think
I love little details like that.
the
77, 80, and 83.
83. So I would have been 4. So that's probably my earliest memory. If it was still in theaters when I was 4 years old and I remember seeing it in the theater,
Hell yeah.
that's probably my earliest memory of my childhood at all. But I remember seeing the movie and I remember the credits. And I remember just being like, wow, that's fucking cool.
Do you remember? Do you remember at what point it really caught your fancy?
I had all 3 of those movies on VHS, like on one VHS. Like, so I would just watch them over and over and over. And those were shit, man. Those were like my earliest memories of being exposed to Star Wars was watching that movie and then just having those movies on call to watch over and over again. My dad was like, "Are you want to Star Wars again? Let's go!" Like he would cue it up. Like
I'm so jealous of that because I remember knowing that I was familiar with Star Wars but hadn't seen the original trilogy until I was like late double digits. Jermaine? My family wasn't nerdy.
that's that look on Doug's face.
Poor
Nor was mine. Mine wasn't nerd either. For me, it was probably I watched the original trilogy in bits and pieces. Like I never watched everything because my family wasn't like that. For instance, I'm just cut this little side story right quick, but when the original Batman came out, I wanted to go watch it in the theater. My family wanted to go watch Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So everybody,
I used to watch that over and over.
and we're at a drive-in theater, so everybody's watching Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I'm in the back, looking out the back window, watching Batman with no sound.
Yeah.
So that was me. So I really didn't get into Star Wars until actually right before the second trilogy came out, because those were coming out. I'm like, well, let me go watch the originals first, and then go watch the Phantom Menace. So,
You said second trilogy. You mean the prequels?
well, I was
Yeah.
probably in
Yeah, that's the second trilogy.
prequels. So it was high school for me, was when I literally forced myself to sit down and watch the original trilogy
Did you-
before the Phantom Menace came out.
So you didn't go to the re-release of the special editions in theaters?
No, I never went to the
okay.
theaters to go see any of that.
So me and Jermaine have basically the same story as far as like our exposure to Star Wars, because I saw stuff in bits and pieces. Every time I say that right now, I distinctly remember like walking through Best Buy and on their big tube TVs they would be playing one of the Star Wars movies, and I just remember thinking, I've never seen a Star Wars, but I've been, I was. The prequels, Phantom Menace came out with 2001.
No.
not nine?
No,
90,
not to-
98 or 99. I was in high school for
It
sure.
was
that one.
Because one little nerdy Star Wars fact that I actually found out Tupac was damn near almost cast as Mace Windu.
What?
99. Yeah, so Phantom Menace came out in 99 because I remember.
Whoa,
I
man,
remember
that was-
specifically sitting in. So I think it was junior year, and I think one of my friends was leaving early to go buy tickets, and it was one of those few times I was like very happy I had cash on me. It was just like, yes, go buy tickets. Like he ditched sixth period, or maybe he had sports and told his coach fuck off, and so he went and got tickets, and then we all like immediately school ended, like ran, like got to.
You
the
were able to
theater.
reserve your seats?
No. He had to get in line. Yeah, no. This is the day he had to get in line.
How dare you?
Oh,
Lightsaber Isaac to the sternum.
were you
Straight
done?
line.
To the left?
Okay, so for me, Return of the Jedi, not in theaters, because I would have been one, but my first memory of it was definitely like watching it when it like, they used to make a big deal about when a movie finally hit like network television. It's like for the first time on like ABC or whatever. So I remember watching Return of the Jedi. I remember it getting like freaking the shit out of me. The beginning with Jabba and the Rancor and like Luke. I mean, I was probably still pretty young at that point.
Star Wars with commercials.
I don't know if. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I
We're
even
coming back
knew
around.
what Star Wars was. Like I don't know if I had watched them or not. I don't remember. I just remember watching Return of the Jedi and getting freaked out, and then eventually same thing. Like I think my neighbor had the VHS, and then just watching it like over and over. But it wasn't until maybe like middle school that was when I was like, oh, Star Wars is a thing. Like I like Star Wars. Like let's watch it. And then in high school they were. Lucas went and did his special editions where he added like some scenes that were originally to cut out and added like special effects and stuff. So they re-released those in theaters, and we went and saw all of them. I think for Return of the Jedi, if you were there like in the first like 100 people, you got a little Luke Skywalker action figure, and I remember like getting it and like not opening it because at that point we had learned like unopened toys. And I remember like going in the comic book store with it, and at first like the guy was like, "Oh yeah, you could probably sell that for like $100." Well, I was like, "Hell yeah!" And then like I didn't because I thought it'd go up, and then like I remember going back like a couple years. I was like, "Hey, how much do you know? I don't know, $10." Like at that point, anyone that wanted them got them. But it's like that was my first like lesson in learning. Like certain nerd things you want to dump pretty quickly.
If you guys remember, like at what point in your guys' lives after being like firstly exposed to Star Wars did it then just like take over you? You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, for me it was after Phantom Menace because just that trailer alone made me go watch the original three, like sit down and literally watch the original three because of Darth Maul. He was the one that got me into Star Wars. Just his character, his design, and like most everybody, I'll never forget that trailer and that double lightsaber. And it's just
Yeah. So, but you were saying, sorry to interrupt, but so you said you hadn't
Ellie beat you
watched
to it.
you hadn't watched
not.
the trilogy.
I never fully watched the original trilogy. I've seen it in bits and pieces, but
Okay.
I've never actually seen everything.
So you didn't fully earn the awesomeness of the Darth Maul, and you'll never be able to have it. For people like me and Rudy that like grew up watching these same Star Wars movies over and over, and just seeing that slow like the super slow like attack, like
See-
especially the first ones.
But that's why, because when I watched the trailer for Phantom Menace, because of the bits and pieces that I saw of the original trilogy,
Okay,
I was
so
like,
okay.
I was
You
like,
got it.
I wasn't rushing to go see it, but I think Rudy explained it to me years later that for some reason George Lucas had it in his head about how heavy the lightsaber was, and it was just one of those things that because Vader could wield it with one hand, like that was a thing. And I understand and I get it. When you're creating a story, there's little things that you try to do, to like Doug said, world build and create all these things, in the story. But when I saw Phantom Menace, these motherfuckers could move like this. I was like, what? No way.
That's why I was more blown away by like
so
that.
surprised. just to add that stain back to your memories for
I
it.
want that as a soundbite.
And it's just one of those things. The whole fight scene with Maul and Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, I'll never forget
By the
that.
way, fucking Duel of the Fates is a goddamn best score.
Never. Yeah, that's just one of the.
While they were swinging over each other's heads.
me and Rudy have this ongoing joke, of when when Darth Maul is trapped in those red laser things, and just seeing Qui-Gon just meditating, and Darth Maul is just sitting there. First of all, he tested it.
Yeah.
That shit just blew my mind. I was like, he was really trying to get his ass. But it was just one of those things. Just him pacing back and forth. Like, that's just our joke. Like, when we see things that we want or anything that's out there, we're just like pacing back and forth. We're doing the Darth Maul.
Oh yeah.
But that battle, not gonna lie, hands down, had me thinking that when we used to have these arguments, about Star Wars characters, like who could beat who. Like I said, because I started with, well, not really, but like I said, I watched the original and then I got into Phantom Menace, and that blew my mind. And because I saw that, we used to have these arguments, about Maul and Vader and all this stuff. And because I was a young Star Wars Padawan who didn't know much about Star Wars, I used to think, I was like, Darth Maul will kill Vader. I was like, there's no way, We used to have these verses, and it was just this thing. I was like, nobody could convince me, because I was like, he can't handle the way how Maul moves. I was like, there's no way. But, I had to humble myself. And it's just one of those things. You just have to know Star Wars lore and the books and the video games. And it's just one of those things, Phantom Menace, Jermaine, was so wrong. Yeah, so it was just one of those things where I was like, my young ignorance, about Star Wars and the Force and all that stuff.
I mean,
I didn't know better.
I forgive you because it was before we met. Like I can't ding you. I can't ding you for anything you had happened before our relationship began.
I met Rudy, and the amount of things he knew about Star Wars, I immediately went home and grew out like a mini ducktail and fucking braided my shit. I was his Padawan.
I have a quick prequel story though. I remember when they came out, I was so fucking excited.
That trailer.
So excited.
Yeah.
I remember because, you couldn't reserve seats back then. So I forget how old I was. I think it was in high school or about to leave high school, whatever. I was somewhere in there. I remember being the mule. Like I went to the theater in the morning, got the tickets, and then just stood there for 8 hours to make sure the family had proper seats. And then I remember getting out. I got home before my mom and Rick did and everyone else. And I remember just going into my room and grabbing one of my lightsabers. I had them back then and just running around, just swinging it out. Teenager. I don't care. I do that shit today. I do that shit today. But and I was I was so high off of it. And my mom came in and it looked like she was attending a funeral. Like she was like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "What are you sorry about?" We saw the same movie, right? I'm like, "Yeah, it was the greatest fucking thing I've ever seen." She's like, "Oh," and then she just left. And then I sat with it for a couple of years, and I'm like, "Damn, that really wasn't the greatest Star Wars movie I've ever seen." I mean, the ending was awesome. That probably was riding that high for a cool last minute.
Yeah.
I see her face.
but I just
And the walk off.
that shit just caught me. She was like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "Sorry for what?" That was awesome. That was awesome.
The optimism of youth.
Yeah.
For real.
Oh man, that is comedy gold.
I
love that.
It was interesting because, I mean, I'm sure someone else had done a prequel, but that was the first time. Like, I mean, the word was relatively new. Like everyone was like, "What is this? A prequel?" And then like just explaining. And so I think when I watched the movie Phantom Menace, I couldn't help but just like try to piece it into like the future stories, the original ones, and so going back to. I think the big thing that stood out to me right away was just I had no idea that that's what the Jedi Council was. I had no idea that they were tied into politics. I didn't know that they were a big thing because, I mean, I didn't read any of the books. All I had was the original trilogy where, again, Han Solo was like, oh, that hokey religion. Like, they really made it out that the Jedi were kind of this, like, group that were off.
Like a cult.
Like a cult, like, off on some, like, unpopulated planet when they came out and saved the day. Like, that was my vision for him. Mm-hmm. So much of watching Phantom Menace was like, oh, like, okay, this... Like, okay, it's different. Like, okay, I can live with it. And then Anakin, he was the greatest star pilot I ever knew when I found him. I think Obi-Wan said that to Luke, and it was like, oh no, he was a whiny kid, a slave, and like so like things like that stood out to me while watching it, but I think it was still ultimately like, yeah, that was pretty good, and the Duel of Fates was enough to continue to talk about that movie and watch that movie again.
Even before I had seen the movie at 9 years old, I remember my brother who was your guys' age. Actually, you're a year older than he is, and
As it should be.
I didn't understand a prequel. I didn't understand the story before the already pre-established story. So like Star Wars was already kind of sort of in the lexicon, and I understood Vader and I understood Luke, and Vader was Luke's father. And I remember, dude, I distinctly remember my brother showing me the poster of little Anakin, and then his shadow
Oh yeah,
was Vader, and I was like, but he's a cute little kid, you know.
yippee!
It's working.
So now this is genocide. I mean, pod racing.
Yeah. I know we're running late. So one last question: if you guys were Jedi, would you want to be more saber, or would you go martial, or more Force users? What style would you want to go for?
Force.
I would love to have that connection to the living force, but fucking lightsaber work is just so cool.
Yeah, I definitely have to have the saber.
I play. I think I mentioned I started a VR game called Synapse. I finally unlocked like full telekinetic powers in the game where you can grab someone. You don't have a blade, you have a gun. But you know, prior to that, I was using my gun. I was getting really good at it. As soon as I got the telekinesis powers, like a bad guy would pop up, and I would grab him and throw him to the ground, drag him to me, and shoot him in the head. Or I would pick someone up and drag him to me and shoot him in the head. It's like, I think like you don't really, if you're really good at the Force, you don't need the blade. You can just grab someone. Like I would totally be like Vader when he threw the guy. Oh, that's the other thing from Ahsoka when Balin first started like
hallway
dicing.
scene,
That was absolutely like a callback to Vader from Rogue One
for sure.
I mean, he even lifted someone up and just sliced him in half. Like after playing Synapse, I realized like, you know, I'd probably be that kind of Force guy. Like just like, yeah, I'll throw someone into the wall, drag him to me, like slice. Cack with the.
The only
I'd even want
difference-
like a little dagger lightsaber just to make it even more insulting. Like slice him.
I would be the same way. The only difference in my style, my technique, is it wouldn't be all the hand waving. It would just be hip thrusting.
Oh, there you go.
That's how I would focus it. Just hold them up in the air, just kind of like give them the wiggle, and then just bring them down.
Do you want to take it after that?
I think that's a good time to.
Or should I just fucking put a button on it there?
The Force is strong with this one.
Let Rudy put a button on it with his Force hip thrusting.
No, I love Isaac's rappos. I live for them.
Oh, don't be nice, put the pressure on me.
He's like, I was about to do it, but
I was. And on
And that's as good a point as any.
And
to wrap it up.
That note, putting that Force thrust in one. This is a good place as any to end on the Star Wars discussion. It's a big world. It's a vast discussion. Put away your lightsabers. Put away your. Don't look at me. Don't look at me while I'm doing this.
No, sorry. I was going to add. I'm sure we'll have another Star Wars episode.
No, we are for sure going to have another Star Wars conversation because we.
We're gonna have to wrap Ahsoka series.
Yeah.
That's over.
Yeah. So I mean, we were talking mainly like how we were introduced and stuff like that, and like this. Okay, and like the original trilogy. There's a little bit of the prequels, but we haven't even touched on like the other sequel.
What I think we'll wrap
Last
Ahsoka,
Jedi.
and then we'll fucking start fighting about the sequels.
Yeah.
Bet. All right, so check us out on our Instagram,
Bet.
our TikTok at
Say less.
The Hype Attack. If there's anything we missed, comment.
Word to your mother.
Comment on our page. We will shout you out like we did at the beginning of this episode, or hit us up at the DMs if you're shy about it.
Cowabunga sickle.
I'll go back to my normal sign off of keep the conversation going. Star Wars is an easy thing to keep talking about, and please DM us or comment any Star Wars story you want to tell, your favorite, whatever, what color your lightsaber would be. Just hit us with all of it.
You want to talk some Star Wars trivia? Like jump into my DMs, and I'll bore you to death.
Quick pop quiz. What species is Darth Maul?
Fuck!
God damn it. I already thought you were going to have that one.
He's
Fucking
no,
wrap it.
no,
wait.
He's from Dathomir.
Fuck.
give him time. Give him time.
No.
Man, I was going to throw that in.
Fuck.
Like when you guys are talking about Darth Maul, it's like, he's going to know this shit. He's going to fucking handle it.
You got me. You got me. I know what it is. I can't think of the name. I do. I'm in my advanced age. I'm forgetting shit like that.
Do you want to do editing magic and look it up?
I know what it is. Fuck, I know what it is. Darth Maul.
Because I honestly thought I was throwing you as easy.
Almost
one.
sounds like his name.
Maul.
Starts with the first 2 letters. Do you want to just tell you?
Darth. With Darth or Maul?
Da.
He's a Zabrak. That's what it was.
Oh, I got Dathomirian.
He's from Dathomir. That's the name of the planet.
Oh.
The name of the species is Zabrak. Zabrak. I fucking knew that. I knew that.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, one of the people also ask, is Darth Maul a Dathomirian Zabrak? And species is Dathomirian Zabrak.
Real quick, pop quiz.
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
Real quick, pop quiz. What species is Darth Maul?
He is a Zabrak. He's a horned Zabrak.
Knew you know it.
Like a
From
horny,
Dath-
like a horny
Dathomir.
toad.
Hey guys, check us out on wherever podcasts are found. Like, rate, and review us.
Oh yeah, let us know what your favorite Star Wars movie is. You know, did you watch Ahsoka? Did you like it? Hit us up.
Check us out every Friday. Same hype time.
Same
hype
channel. And may the force be with you.
And also with you.
suck off.